Your time is precious, so in this tutorial, I'm going to show you guys how to build a WordPress website for your business quick and easy with as little steps as possible. Not only is this going to be a quick and easy tutorial, but you also don't have to have any coding experience whatsoever. I'm going to show you how to build the entire website using a super easy to use drag and drop page builder plugin called Elementor. From start to finish, I'm going to show you guys how to get your own domain name and web hosting, how to install a complete website template to save you time, how to fully customize your site using Elementor, how to edit your header and footer, and even how to build a free logo. And lastly, how to make sure your website looks good on all responsive modes. So if you want to get your complete one-page website up and running in about an hour, follow along with me and let's go ahead and get started with step number 1, which is getting your domain name and web hosting. If you want to build a website, you have to have a domain name and web hosting, plain and simple. A website literally doesn't exist if it doesn't have a domain name or web hosting plan. Now, the domain name is just the address to the website. It's what people are going to enter into the search bar to find your site. So something like yourwebsite.com. And then web hosting, on the other hand, is just renting space on a server that's connected to the internet. Now, there are web hosting companies that exist all over the world and have buildings full of these servers. And you can sign up for a plan with one of them to rent space on one of those servers to have your website accessible online. It's pretty similar to signing up with a phone provider. The domain name is like a phone number and your web hosting plan is like getting service with Verizon or T-Mobile or any of those. If you don't pay your phone bill, you can't call anyone. So the same thing applies here. There's tons of hosting providers out there, but we recommend Hostinger on this channel because, in our opinion, they're the absolute best. They seriously offer the most affordable hosting for what they actually provide, and their customer service is also top tier. Now, if you want to sign up for your web hosting today and get a custom domain name so that you can build your website and follow along with this tutorial, click on the first link that's down in the description, or you can go to createaprowebsite.com/hostinger, and it'll take you to a special co-branded landing page that we have with them. Now, this affiliate link compensates us for making the video, but it also provides you with an absolute massive discount on your hosting plan. It takes off around $100 from your bill, and I'll show you guys this right now. So let me show you that right now. If we scroll on down, you'll see that we have 3 different plans in front of us. We've got the single, the premium, and the business plan. Now, I always recommend that everyone on the channel go for the premium web hosting plan because of everything that it provides for the affordable price that it is. If we scroll on down, you guys can go ahead and look through everything if you want, but the fact that it gives you a free domain name, a free SSL certificate, and free emails that you can sign up for, all for the $2.99 a month, it's pretty sweet. So I'm gonna click on select right here and we'll move on. From here, we get to choose the period at which we pay, and I'm going to go ahead and select 12 months because your domain registration is going to be for 1 year, so you might as well have your hosting match up with the domain registration, so I always set it to 12 months. We'll scroll on down. Now you guys can fill out your billing information, but one thing that's really important is you want to make sure the coupon code that's applied says create a pro website right here. This is what's going to be saving you from $143 all the way down to $32. So it's saving you $111 right here, which is pretty sweet. So make sure you guys have that coupon code right here, and we can kind of review everything that you're getting charged for if you'd like. We've got the premium web hosting plan for 12 months. You're paying for all 12 months up front, so that's why it's $143. But because of the discount, you're only getting it for $35 total. You also get the domain name completely for free, so that's scratched off, and you get set up for free, and that's scratched off as well. So you're paying $35.88 total, but it comes down to $32.29 with the coupon code, so that's pretty sweet for your first year. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill out my billing information, and I'll see you guys on the next screen. All right, so once you've filled out your purchasing information, we can go ahead and click on Start Now, and it's going to ask if you want to create or migrate a website. Now, this is the part where if you already have a website built and you're migrating it over to Hostinger, you can click on Select right here. But for this tutorial, we're creating a website from scratch, so I'm going to click on Select for create a new website. Next, we get to select a platform, and we're going to be using WordPress for this tutorial. And then after that, we have to create our login details for our WordPress admin account. So I'm going to go ahead and use my administrator email and add my own password, just like this. So we'll go ahead and say continue. All right, next it's going to ask if we want to preemptively add any plugins to our website, but I'm going to show you guys how to do this later on in the tutorial. So we're going to go ahead and say skip. And it's also going to ask if you want any templates or themes or anything like that, but we're going to say skip. I don't need a template. And lastly, we finally get to claim the free domain name that we get with our hosting package that we just purchased. And of course, that depends on if you guys got the same one that I did. So I'm going to go ahead and claim my free domain name and say select, and this is where we get to search if the domain name is available. So I'm going to try something like this. Basically, it's just John Smith and then create a pro website on the end, CAPW. So I'm going to hit So I'm actually going to click on this drop down right here, and I'm also going to select .com. Now, you guys can go ahead and look through the entire list if you want to, but I always recommend using a .com because it's the most common that people look for when they're looking for a website, as well as the most professional looking. So I would stick to a .com if you can. That is, of course, if the domain name that you want isn't available in a .com, you can always try something else, but again, I would try and make a variation and still get a .com. Okay, so once you're done, we can click on search to see if it's available, and you'll see that yes, this domain name is available, so we're good to go. We're gonna click on continue right here, and then we get to click on finish setup, and then I'm gonna click on finish registration. And now it's gonna take a moment for Hostinger to set up everything on the back end, so I'll see you guys in a second. Alright guys, when everything is said and done, the last thing you have to do is go right over here to edit your website and click on edit website. Now this is going to directly to your WordPress dashboard, so let's go ahead and click on it. Alright friends, with our domain name and hosting out of the way, as well as having WordPress downloaded and installed onto our site, it's time to move on to step number 2, which is to download a complete website template, which is what I mentioned earlier on. If you wanted to build your site from scratch, that's totally fine. I just like starting with templates because it saves you a bunch of unnecessary time spent on getting things started. So let's go ahead and check out some templates. From your WordPress dashboard, we're gonna hover your mouse over the plugins tab and then click on add new. From here, you can use the search bar in the top right corner to look for a plugin called starter templates. For those of you who are new, plugins are basically the same thing as apps on your smartphone, but for your website. Now I'm gonna install and activate starter templates. After this, select Elementor because this is the page builder plugin that we're going to be using. And this is the library where you can choose whichever template you think looks best. Now you can either follow along with me and choose the same template that I do, or you can pause the video and browse through the entire library and choose which template you think is right for you. You'll notice at the top, we have filters for different industries that you can use, that you might be looking for when building your website. What I'm gonna do is search for Portfolio CV, because I went ahead and looked through the templates beforehand, and I liked this template. Yeah, I think this is gonna work nicely. Once you click on your chosen template, you get a preview on the right-hand side, as well as the settings menu on the left. If you already have a logo that you built for your business, you can go ahead and upload it now, but I'm gonna show you guys how to build your own logo for free without having to download any software later on in the video. For now, I'm gonna go ahead and click on skip and continue. Next, we're gonna choose a color palette for the website as well as a font combo. And you can play around with these if you want, but I'm gonna go ahead and choose the light blue color combo as well as the Poppins Lato font combo. When you're all done, just make sure that all of the boxes are checked except for this one, and then you can click on submit and build. After a minute or two, you'll have the downloaded template ready to go. All right, friends, this is my favorite part of the process. We get to customize the site that we just downloaded. Now, realistically, the only thing that we have to do is just insert our own pictures, our videos, and our text into the website and make it basically ours. Now, if you don't have images ready on your website, you can always go to unsplash.com, and I'll show you guys the website right here, and get a bunch of these free images that you can use. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. So in order to edit our website, we're gonna go up here to this top admin ribbon, and we're gonna click on edit with Elementor right here. And this is gonna open up that super easy to use drag and drop page builder that I mentioned at the intro of the video. We can also go ahead and close out of the starter templates tab, but I always like to leave a dashboard open. You'll notice I always open things up on new tabs like this. That way I can always bounce back and forth between the two. So welcome to Elementor. I'm gonna go ahead and close out of the navigator over here on the right-hand side. Let me go ahead and give you guys a basic overview of Elementor before we start making changes to the website. You'll notice that as I move my mouse over different parts of the website, all of these different boxes and cubes start lighting up like this. Well, that's because there's 3 different parts to Elementor when it comes to building your website. We've got the background, which is kind of this blue square that keeps popping up every time I come over this section. This blue area is called a section, right? If I hover my mouse over these 6 dots up here, you'll see that it says edit section. And you can think of the section as the background. If I right click on it and say edit section, for instance, you don't have to follow along yet. I can go to the style tab and I can literally choose the background color if I want to, and I can make it whatever I want, just like this. We'll go back to theme color 5. And again, you don't have to follow along. I'm still just kind of showing you guys around Elementor before we make changes. So the section is the background. Now inside of a section, you can place columns, which are a gray dotted box. And so if I move my mouse over this, you can see it's a gray dotted box and it says edit column. I have another column right here, and then I have the third column right here. And columns always stack horizontally like this. And then widgets, which are inside of columns, are these little blue squares, as you can see. And they always stack vertically inside of columns. So if you want things to stack side by side, you have to use columns, and if you want them to stack vertically, you have to use widgets. So One last little review. You've got a section, which is the background. Inside of the section, you can have columns. And then inside of these columns, you can have widgets. Okay? Now, if you ever want to see how many widgets we have, you can click on the little Rubik's Cube icon right here in the top corner of the menu side over here, and you'll see all of the different widgets that you can put into your website, which is pretty cool. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is actually remove this entire column, and I'm just going to hover my mouse over the gray dotted box, right-click on it, and say delete. And that's going to remove that third little column right there. Don't worry, we're going to add in some socials or contact information right here. But for now, I just want it with 2 columns. Next, what I'm going to do is edit the background or the section by just right-clicking out here while the blue line is hovering, or is activated, as you can see. And I'm going to say Edit Section. From here, I'm going to go back to the Layout tab, and I'm going to change the content width from boxed, which, as you can see, my columns are boxed inside, and there's a bunch of empty space over here. If I change it to full width, it's going to use the full width of the screen, as you can see. And so, by the way, I forgot to mention, we've got 3 tabs that always pop up whenever you're editing anything on the website. You've got the Layout tab, which is obviously things that have to do with the layout, like full width, the height, the vertical align, and things like that. You've got the Style tab, which is where you can change things like color, background, your images, and things like that. And then the Advanced tab, which the Advanced tab, we're not going to touch too much. The only thing we're going to touch in the Advanced tab is the padding. And you can think of padding as adding a little bit of space or padding wherever I choose. So if I choose to add it on the top, bottom, left, right, whatever you want. And we're actually going to add some padding right now. So you can see that my text is up against the side of my website, and that just looks terrible. I don't like how it's right up here against the side. So what I'm going to do is go over here to the right and left side and add about 400 points of padding. So on the right and on the left. And as you can see, I've added 400 pixels of value or padding over here, and 400 padding over here as well. And that kind of centers things in a nice way, but they're not too crunched up together like they were when it was boxed layout. Okay, so with that out of the way, I've got my text on the left and I've got my picture on the right. And now it's going to be a lot more simple to edit this website rather than having 3 columns and everything squished together. Before I make any further changes, I want to save my work. And you'll see that I save my work very often when I'm editing a website, just so that if I get disconnected or something happens, I've saved my work and I don't lose anything. And it's really easy to do. I just go to the bottom left corner and click on this update button, the green button down here in the corner. And what that does is it publishes whatever changes you just made and updates your live version of your website. So we just published these changes. Okay. So now that we've done that, let's go ahead and customize this site to be our business. And the first thing that I want to do is actually make this background white rather than this light dark gray. Rather than this light gray. So what I'm going to do is edit the section one more time, go to the Style tab, and instead of actually customizing the color by clicking on this side, and I can choose whatever color I want, as you can see, I'm actually going to click on the globe icon, and I'm going to use the color palette that we just selected when we downloaded the theme. And so you can see the theme color 1, theme color 2. That's where you're getting the same blue right here. The black is the text, and the gray and everything is how you're getting all of this, right? I'm going to stick to these theme colors. That way I can always change the colors of my website from one place. And I'll show you guys that in just a second. But for now, what I'm going to do is set the background to my theme color 6, which is white. And as you can see, it changed the background to white. Actually, just so that we don't skip over this, let me show you guys what I mean right now when I say my global color palette. Make sure you update your work to save. And I'm going to go back to my WordPress dashboard. Now, if you don't have your dashboard open on another tab where you can bounce back and forth, which, by the way, I recommend always doing. If you don't, you have to click on the hamburger icon right up here and click on exit, and it's going to ask, where do you want to exit to? And you're going to say to my WordPress dashboard, apply. And so you basically have to exit out of Elementor just to get back to your WordPress dashboard, which I think is pointless. So I'm going to open my website up on a new tab, which anytime you want to see your website, you click on the website name, and it's going to open your website. And then we can click on Edit with Elementor again. Okay, so remember, what I was talking about was, if I click Edit Section, I was talking about the global color palette, these colors right here. And I'm going to go ahead and open up my website again on a new tab, but instead of clicking on Edit with Elementor, I'm going to click on Customize. And if you remember, when we downloaded this template, we got to choose the color palette, and it changed the colors of the website. Well, if we go to global and then go to colors, you'll see the global color palette that we chose. And so now if I change any of these colors, it's going to completely change the color of the website. And so let me go ahead and show you guys what I mean. We'll select color 1. And I'm going to copy this code really quickly. So Control or Command C so that I don't lose my color. But now if I change my color, you'll see that everywhere on the website where it's using color number 1, it's going to change the color. And so whenever I want, I can completely change the look of my website just by choosing a different color. And so I wanted to show you guys that we're going to keep this color palette intact. That way, whenever you want, you can always change the color of your website. And it doesn't matter what color you change it to, it's always going to completely change. So that's pretty cool. Anyways, let's go ahead and paste this color back. Control or Command V. And I'm going to click on Publish right here to save my work. And that's the same thing as clicking on the green update button in the bottom left corner. It just publishes whatever changes you made. We can close out of that tab. Okay, so long story short, when we change colors, I'm going to use my global color palette so that everything stays in one place. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is obviously change this picture out of this random lady and use a picture of the person that I'm building the website for. And so we're going to pretend that I'm building this website for a guy named John Smith. And I've got a bunch of pictures of him, so we're going to go to Upload Files right here and click on Select Files. And let me go over to the folder that I have saved for this tutorial. Here we go. And these are just a bunch of pictures that I got from unsplash.com, and I photo edited them on my own, off camera, as well as bringing this one into Photoshop so I can put him on a circle. If you don't have a picture like that, it's okay to just put a random picture of yourself or whoever you're building the website for, obviously. But I went ahead and created this fancy picture right here, so this is what I'm going to use. Give me one more second for the pictures to load. Okay, so now I've uploaded all of the pictures to my website. I'm going to select this one and click on Insert Media. And now I've got this really cool picture of this dude right here. I'm also going to edit the background one more time and go back to the layout, and I'm going to change the height right here to be fit to screen. And what that's going to do is it's going to set this section to be the height of the screen, no matter how big or small someone's screen is. And so now if you scroll down, here's the About Me section. But now we've got this really clean looking hero section for your website. Let's go ahead and customize the left-hand side. I'm going to click on Update to save. What I'm going to do next is click on this heading text. And the cool thing about Elementor is you can literally edit your text directly on screen. So if I want to click here and delete Watson, I can go ahead and type whatever I want directly on my website. And I can also do the same thing by just clicking over here and typing whatever I want. It's the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to type out John Smith because that's obviously the guy's name. And I know what you're thinking. Wow, Levi, you're not even using capitalization. Well, don't worry, that's the next thing I'm going to change. I'm going to go back to the Style tab. And obviously I get to choose my text color. So I'm going to click on the global palette and choose my theme color 3 because that's black. I didn't like that blue color. Then I'm going to go to the typography, and this is where you can change things like your font size. You can change things like your font, which I'm going to leave using the default font, which is part of the template, right? I can change the weight. I can transform it, which is what I'm going to do, to uppercase. And so now if I transform it to uppercase, it doesn't matter if I use lowercase. It's going to constantly make it like its cap lock is on. Go back to the Style tab. And the last thing I'll do is just increase the size so that it looks like this. I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is right-click on this and say Duplicate, and I'm going to do it again. And I know what you're thinking. That looks terrible. John Smith, John Smith, John Smith. But don't worry. We're going to make some changes. Let's click on the top one, and I'm going to go back in there and change the size down. So something like this. And I might even increase the letter spacing like this. And then I'll go back to the Content tab and say something like, hi, my name is John Smith. And let's also add one more widget in here. And remember, if I want to add a widget, I go to this little Rubik's Cube icon. I'm going to bring in the divider. And as you can see, anytime I drag a widget in, wherever that blue line is where it's going to place it. So I'm going to place it right here. And there's my divider line. You'll see that I'm editing the divider over here. I'm going to set it to the left-hand side and then reduce the width. And as you can see, it's reducing to the left. If I chose the right, you'll see that it's going to reduce to the right. And the same thing with center. But I'm going to choose the left and reduce it to something like this. Go to the Style tab. It's already using black, which is good. But what I'm going to do is make sure that it's set to my theme color, which is black. And so now you can see that that's lit up, which means I'm using a theme color and I didn't just customize my color like this. Next, I'm going to add some weight to it. so it looks a little bit thicker, so it kind of matches the font style. And then I'm just going to remove the gap. As you can see, I can add as much gap as I want. I just don't want any. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and finish this second one. We're gonna click on it, and then I'll say something like this. Okay, photography, web design, graphic design. And it looks correct over here. As you can see, it looks terrible over here. So let's go back to the style tab and reduce the size, which is pretty obvious. I'm gonna make this kind of more of like a subtitle, so something like this. And I like how it's underneath the H. I don't want it sticking out too far. I think this looks pretty good. And then lastly, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna remove this dummy text right here. So I'm just gonna right click on it and say delete. Go over to the Rubik's Cube icon, and I'm going to add my own icon list. Just like this. And then what I'm going to do is customize these. The first thing I'm going to do is delete one. And you can do that by clicking on the X. And if you want to duplicate it, you click on the little copy icon right here and it duplicates it. And then if you want to edit one, you just click on it and you've got the text and the icon. It's really simple. So if I want the icon to be something different, let's make this a phone. It's really simple. And then we'll change this to a phone number, which obviously you would put your phone number, or if you're a web designer building this for a client, you would put their phone number, which is pretty obvious, but I'm going to put a fake one. All right, just to kind of have a placeholder so you guys see what it'll look like. Let's click on the second one, and I'll make this an example email. And let's make this an email, which you can't search email, but let's search for an envelope icon. And we'll use this one and do that. Okay, so now what we can do is you can also rearrange the order just by dragging them. It's really simple. Like it's unbelievably simple. We can go over to the style tab from here and we can add some space in between the two like this, which I think the spacing is just fine. We can go to the icon, and as you can see, we've got the list, icon, and text. So if we go to the icon, we can change the color, which I'm gonna use my theme color 1 for the main color, and then the hover color, let me show you a drastic example. Whenever you hover over it, as you can see, it highlights red. But what I'm going to do is use my theme color 2, which is slightly darker. And so every time I hover over it, you can tell that the phone turns darker. Same thing with this button, which is pretty cool. Okay. So we've got our color. We can also increase the size a little bit so it's a little more visible. And lastly, I'm going to go over to the text and we can change the text color, but I mean, it's already black, so I'm going to leave it that way. We could set it to the theme color so that if you ever change the color in the future, it all changes at the same time. And the hover color doesn't matter, it's just text. Okay, and then we can also add a little text indent, which I'm going to do just a little bit, as you can see. Okay, perfect. I think that's pretty good. Click on Update to Save. And the last thing we're going to do is edit this button. And it's really easy to do. You click on it, and you can see we're editing the button up here. And you've got the text right here and the link. That's all you got to do. The text can say something like Learn More if you want. Or it can say contact me. Whatever you want this button to do is probably what you should title it. And then we can go to the link right here. And all you have to do is put in your URL. So https://www.youtube.com, for example. If I put YouTube in here and then click on this button, it'll take them to YouTube, right? So I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. We're going to be using this pretty soon, but for now I'm going to leave this hashtag mark here as a placeholder. So when I click on this button, it doesn't go anywhere. I'm going to click on Update to save my work. I just wanted to show you guys that that's how you can change the text to be whatever you want. Okay, so with that out of the way, I think our hero section looks absolutely fantastic. From here, we're going to scroll on down. I wanted to customize the hero section because that's kind of one of the most important parts of the website. It's the first thing that people see when they come here. The rest of the website, I'm going to be just changing pictures and text. We're not going to be building sections or anything like that. So it's going to go a lot faster, but I wanted to make this look pretty cool, and I think it does. It's really minimalistic and simple, but still looks like a techie website. It's kind of nice. Okay, so for the About Me section, you're going to put a picture of you right here, and then you're going to put in the About story. And so you would write out, you know, my name's John Smith, and I've been in the industry for 30 years, and I've done this, this, and this, and blah, 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 right? So you guys can put in your text here, and you guys know how to edit text. You can literally just start typing on screen, right? Or you can come over here and type. And so you would probably type out your about part of your website, and then you would just, you know, like on a Word document or something, and then you would copy paste it into your website. So it's pretty simple. You guys already know how to edit a button, so you click on it and then you can change it from contact me to learn more if you want, or something like that. You can leave it as contact me, and then we might link this button later to drop them all the way down to the contact section, which I'll show you guys how to do that in just a little bit. Over here on the right-hand side, I'm going to change this image to be a picture of John Smith. And I think this one is the vertical one. Perfect. I trimmed one to be vertical, as you can see, so we'll say insert media, and it fits perfectly right there. All right, let's click on update to save. Obviously, this text up here is the exact same as this over here. You click on it and you can literally start typing. So I'm going to let you guys customize that yourself. I just want to show you guys what it would look like if this is customized to your industry, right? You would put a picture of you. Okay, so the about section's done. That's really all we're going to do. Next, we're going to move on to the services section. And this one's going to be pretty simple as well. I'm going to switch out these icons because they're obviously the color of the old website, because it's not linked to the global color palette. It's literally an image. And so what I'm going to do is literally delete these three and put in my own icon. And so I can go to the Rubik's Cube icon over here, and I can search for an icon and pull it in. Let's put it on top. I know it looks terrible. Bear with me. Here we go. We're going to change the icon. Well, first of all, let's change the services. So let me delete this really quickly. Let's see. Web development, we're definitely going to be using. So that's pretty cool. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to rearrange them. I'm literally just going to type it out. So what were my services? Let's see here. It was photography, web design, graphic design. Okay, so let's knock those out really quickly. Photography, web design, graphic design. And you can see how fast and how easy it is to literally just click on it and type out what I want. Okay, so those are my three services that I'm offering as a freelancer. So I've got my services here. Let's choose icons that are appropriate for those three. So I can go over here, search for icon again. And then what I can do is start editing. So for photography, I'm going to obviously choose a camera. And let's go to the style tab and change the color. So we're going to use the theme color, and then we can change the hover, which you guys know what the hover color is. We'll make it theme 2. So now when you hover over it, it gets darker. That's kind of cool. Let's go ahead and delete this one. Again, all I did was I right click and I say delete, right? Okay, so now I've got my icon. Last thing we're gonna do is go over to the advanced tab and add some padding on top, because you can see that these have padding on top and mine doesn't. So let's add about 40 on top. And it should be about the exact same placement as you can see. And now all I have to do is just duplicate this 3 times to save myself the time of building all 3 from scratch. Let's go ahead and delete these 3, or the other 2, I mean. And we can just drag this over here. Let's put it on top of the text, and put it on top of the text. And then all we have to do is just change the image. So that's pretty simple. So for this one, I might choose something like this. For web design, I might use kind of like a little design looking logo. And then for this one, I'm going to choose something called object, but it kind of looks like what you would use for graphic design. You can kind of trim or transform something. So I'll use that one. I think that looks pretty appropriate. Now, obviously right now, these don't go anywhere, but if you ever wanted to add multiple pages to your website, you can always link these to the other pages. But for now, it's just your services displayed. They can read them and they understand what you do. And then they can come down here and ask you to do one of those services for them, right? Okay, so that's the services section. Honestly, I think that's pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next section, which is this little video looking clip section. And so I'm actually going to replace this section with a different one. Now watch this. You guys saw how I can click and drag on the pencil icon like this, and I can rearrange this so I can put this icon down here, right? Pretty simple. We're gonna do the same thing, but with this entire section. You can click and drag on the 6 dots, and you'll see that I can literally drag this. And I'm gonna move this one all the way down here and put it below the portfolio. And now I'm gonna drag the portfolio and pull it up. And we'll place it right there. All right, so I've got my services, and then I go straight into my portfolio. I think it looks better having the portfolio first. And another thing I'm gonna do is right click and say duplicate this title, and I'm gonna drag it down here so it's right above my gallery, photography. Okay, perfect. And then I'm gonna set that to the left with the alignment. And you guessed it, with the advanced tab, I'm going to add a little bit of padding on the left. Let's try 50. Let's try 100. Okay, I think 100 looks good. And we'll say update. Because if you remember, we offer 3 services: photography, web design, and graphic design. So this is the web design. So actually, I misspoke. This is obviously web design. As you can see, these are websites that he probably screenshot and put on his website so you can see the caliber of websites that he builds. So what I'm gonna do is literally duplicate this 2 more times. So let's do that really quickly. And I'm gonna create 3 different galleries. It's really easy to edit these. Click on it just like this, so I can say edit my carousel. I can click right here under the content tab. And let's go ahead and remove these images by clicking on the little X icon. And I'm gonna select my own files. And so I went ahead and saved some images beforehand. And so let's do the photography first. And we'll say insert gallery. And so now, as you can see, my images are different. I'm gonna go ahead and drag this one above my web design text. And then I'm gonna duplicate my web design text and move it above this gallery. And this time I'm gonna say photography. And the reason I did that is because photography is first, then web design. As you can see, it's photography, web design, and you guessed it, the last one's graphic design. So let's build the third one. I'm gonna duplicate this one more time and drag it in between here. I'm going to grab this one if I can. There we go, and place it right here. Graphic design. And let's go ahead and add the last images right here. So we'll go over to the image carousel, remove these 5 images, and I'm gonna upload my own. And I've got my own logos that I built off camera as well. And they're just dummy logos, but I created them off camera just so that I can show you guys an example. Okay, and now that I've got my logos installed, I'm gonna go over to Insert Gallery. And voila, we've got a super cool looking portfolio section where I show off all 3 of the categories or services that I provide. Let me click on Update to save my work really quickly. And we'll come up here. And so we've got my portfolio. If they want to look at the photography that I do, they can scroll through. And this is interactable. I'm dragging this right now. And so they can look through the images that I take. If they want to see the websites that I build, they can look at the websites that I build, which is pretty cool. And then if they want to see the graphic design that I can do, they can see some of the examples of logos that I've built. I think this is a really sweet looking portfolio section. Okay, and then obviously you'd want to change your text right here to say something like my portfolio, say something like I've been in the industry for 40 years, check out my work, or something like that, right? So let's scroll on down to the next section, which is my work experience. I personally am not going to make any changes to this because obviously this website is an example site, so I'm not going to go in here and give an entire fake history of what this guy's done, but you can already see that's what this is. You can see that this says he's a UX, UI designer, a web designer, graphic designer, marketing, web developer, whatever. This is really easy to edit though, and let me just show you how to edit it, but I'm not gonna add or remove any content. You can click right here and obviously it's text, so you can just type whatever you want, right? Same thing with this, it's just text, and same thing with this, it's just text. This is a progress bar, and when you click on it, you can edit the progress bar over here, and here's your percentage. So right now it's over here. If I want to drag this over, now it only goes to here. And so it says 32%. I can hide or display the percentage, and so now it says 32%. If I want to go all the way up to like 78%, now it's at 78%. It's really easy to customize this. I'm going to go ahead and hide it just like this. And then the inner text, it's what's displaying right now, UX, UI designer. So you could literally type whatever you want right here, and it's going to pop up. It's really simple. And then you don't have to, but you can go over to the Style tab. It's already set to your theme color. So when you change the color blue to red, all of this is going to change. These icons are going to change to red. And the progress bars, this text, all of it's going to change to red, for example. So that's how you edit this work experience section. This is where you kind of prove that you've been in the industry for 30 years. Well, what have you been doing? And so you can say, here's what I've been doing. Okay, so I'm going to click on Update to save my work. Next, we're going to come on down, and we've got what my client says. I'm actually going to move this section even further down. So let's move it down below here, just like this, because I want my testimonials to be next. And so the testimonials, again, really easy. You can edit your own text. You guys know how to do that now. If you want to come down here and actually change these to be the people that you know, for instance, you did work for a couple people and they said, yeah, I'll give you a testimonial. You can ask them for a picture of themselves. You click on this picture and you can literally change the image right here. Click on it and you'll see that right now it's using this guy's picture. I could use somebody else's picture. Let me try this one, for example. I'll try this one right here and I'll click on Insert Media and now it's using his picture. It's really that simple. So get a picture of the guy that did the testimonial for you, and then write down what he actually said. So tell him to write you an email, and then you copy paste it directly into your website. It's that simple. And then again, down here, click on it. You can just change his name. So instead of John Doe, it's John Smith, because that's John Smith. Cool. Okay. So with that being out of the way, you guys know how to edit the other two. So I'll let you guys do that on your own time. We'll scroll on down. And finally, we have the contact section, which I'm actually going to merge these two and just make one contact section. So what I'm going to do is delete this entire inner column right here. So we're just going to delete all of this, delete these 3 widgets, and I'm going to drag all of this in there. So I'm actually just going to take this entire inner section and just pull it in. And same thing with this one, just drag the whole thing in. Okay, it doesn't want to go in, so I'm going to delete it and just delete this section by clicking on those 2 X's, and I'll just drag the widget in myself. So we'll go over here to the Rubik's Cube icon and say WP Forms, but the second you type in WP, it pops up. This is your contact form widget. It's going to ask you to select a form. The template that we downloaded at the beginning of the video already comes with 2 contact forms. The simple contact form is what we want, because a newsletter just looks like this. And so what I'm going to do is choose the simple contact form, and it's got the name, email, and message. And so someone can put in their name and say, "Hi, my name's Levi. Here's my email. Come, email me. I want to do business with you. Can you send me a quote?" That's what they would do, and they hit send message. And so we'll click on update to save our work. Last thing I'm going to do is actually change the text color, because obviously you can't see this. So we're going to right click and say edit heading. Go to the style tab. And we'll change this to the white theme color 6. And same thing with this text. Click on it, style tab, text color, theme color 6. And now you can see it pretty well. Another thing that you could do if you wanted to is edit this background section, because this obviously isn't a picture of John Smith back here. We'll go to the style tab, and here's the picture. Let's change it to a picture of John, shall we? This one's pretty cool. I actually really like this one. I think it's cool with the contrasting red. So I'm going to say insert. And there we go. We've got a picture of John in the background. If you want to get in contact with John, you can talk to him. Pretty cool. Let's click on update to save our work. Now there's one last thing that I need to show you how to do before we finish editing the website, and that's how to get this to actually send emails to you. I'm going to edit the WP forms by right-clicking and just saying edit. And you can literally say, do you need to make changes? Edit the selected form right here. I'm going to say, yes, I want to edit the selected form, and it's going to open it up. You can drag and drop these if you want, so now name is second instead of email. And if I go back to my website, you'll see that it's in that order, but I'm not going to do that. What I want to do is go over to the settings tab and then go over to notifications. And this is where the email is going to be sent. So when someone signs up on your contact form and hits submit, it's going to send to this email address. And so right now with shortcode, it's pulling your admin email address that you used to create your entire WordPress account. If that's fine, then that's fine. But if you actually want it to go to a different email, like let's say you've got, johnsmithcapw.com is my website, right? It's right up here. Let's say I've got info@johnsmithcapw.com or support@johnsmithcapw.com. You can put that email in right here, right? And then it's always going to send to this email address, so it's not blowing up your personal email, for example. You can also change other things down here, like your email subject line. So this is what it's going to show in the subject line of your email. So if I open up my Gmail, for example, you'll see that this is the subject line right here. And so if I go back to, I can literally type out what I want my subject line to be, but I think this is perfectly fine. It lets you know that it's a new entry in your contact form. You can change the from name, so that would change the from name, which is this right here. So you could say, instead of personal portfolio, you could literally say johnsmithcapw.com. So now I know that it's coming from my website. And I can also change the from email, or you can leave it as your admin email. Okay, so once you're done making the change and adding your email right here, you can click on save, and then we can close out. And it publishes your changes here in Elementor, and then you can click on update to save. And just like that, we're done. I think this website looks absolutely top tier. It is fantastic. This hero section I'm loving. With just minimalism being really in style right now, having a minimalistic website like this, where it's just very simple, but still clean, just looks fantastic. And then you scroll on down, the about section's cool, services. The portfolio's got to be one of my favorite sections of this entire website. I think it just looks so classy with those 3 image carousels. And then you scroll on down, we got work experience, my clients, or the testimonials, I mean, and the contact form. So all of that being done, we can go ahead and close out of both of these tabs and go back to our WordPress dashboard. For this next part of the video, we're going to be jumping out of Elementor and jumping into the theme customizer to edit the header, the footer, the logo, and the site icon. Now, Elementor edits all of the content on your website except for the header and the footer, which is basically the very top and bottom sections of your website. You can think of it like it's a sandwich. Elementor lets you design the middle of the sandwich, while the customizer edits the bread on the top and on the bottom. So let's go ahead and get into it right now. From your WordPress dashboard, I'm going to go over to the left-hand side, hover my mouse over Appearance, and then click on Customize right here. And this is going to open up the customizer that we were in just a second ago when I showed you guys the global colors, right? But I also want to show you that clicking on the Appearance tab and going to Customize is the exact same thing as opening your website up and clicking on Customize right here. Which also, our website's looking a little weird. It looks like it's kind of glitched out, which is funny because if I open up the website on an incognito tab, it's looking perfect. So there's obviously something is glitching out, which I'm too lazy to fix right now, but sometimes that happens, and it could be a caching issue, it could be an updating issue. It's, you know, I'll figure that out off camera later. But for now, if you look over here on the right-hand side, we do have an accurate looking preview where everything looks good. Okay, so we're editing the header, footer, logo, and icon, right? We're not editing glitches in our website, so let's get back to it. So if we want to edit the header of our website, we go over here to the header builder, and it's that simple. And you'll see we've got a visual representation of what's actually happening up here. We've got the logo. In the center, we've got the menu, and then over here on the right, we've got a button, and it's the same thing. We've got logo, menu, button. If I drag the button over here to the middle, it's going to move it to the middle, right? So it's pretty self-explanatory. I can drag whatever I want, wherever I want. Over here, we're going to click on Site Title and Logo, and we can actually edit the logo that's on our website. But we don't have one yet, so I'm going to show you guys how to build your own logo completely for free without having to download any software. And it's really easy to do. Let's go ahead and open up a new tab really quickly. I'm going to click on Publish just to save. But let's open up a new tab and go to logomaker.com without the E. And from here, what I'm going to do is click on Start My Design. And I'm going to show you guys how to use this so you guys can click out of whatever tutorial you have going on right now. Up here in the top left corner, we've got the search bar where you can search for over 1 million graphics that are available on Logo Maker, which is pretty cool. And ironically enough, I'm actually going to be using this logo right here. So while I'm here, I'm just going to click on it and add it to my logo. And I can click and drag it, right? Over here on the left-hand side, we've got basic functions like the text function, the shapes, the paint bucket, and things like that, which I'm going to be adding some text, so I might as well click on it. And then over here on the right-hand side, we've got the color wheel, the saturation square, and opacity. And so I can change the saturation if I want to and make it just black and white, or I can make it colored. And then I can also choose what color I want, right? Now, one thing I want to make sure to do is I want my logo to be the exact same color as the blue on my website. So I should probably snag that same color. And it's really easy to do. I'm going to click on the pencil icon while editing this button right here. Click on the Design tab. And normally the color would be right here, but it's not. So let's go all the way back to our global color palette really quickly. And I'm just going to copy this color right here. So let's click on it, and I'm going to copy this code. Controller Command C. And then let me go back into the header builder so that we are ready to edit our logo when we need to. We'll go back over to Logo Maker, and I can paste the color code right here, Controller Command V. And so now it's the exact same color as my website. Let's do the same thing for this text right here. Perfect. Actually, I want the text to be black. I don't know what I'm thinking. Okay, so let's go ahead and type out his name, John Smith. And then I'm going to add another text function and type something out like digital services. Let's make it black as well. And I'm going to drag it out of the way. Okay. So John Smith, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click right here, go over to my font category and my fonts. And I'm actually just going to choose Anton. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Drag my logo in the center just like this. I think that's already starting to look like a pretty good logo. Last thing I'm going to do is drag digital services underneath. And I mean, right off the bat, I mean, that took me less than a few minutes and I already have a logo ready to go. Last thing I'm going to do though is just make some changes to this text to make it look more like a subtitle. So let's increase the letter spacing to something like this. And then I might drag the size out a little bit more, just like this, so that it spans from one side to the other. I can click on it and use my arrow keys and barely make adjustments to move it over a little bit, and I think that looks fantastic. When you're done and ready to save your logo completely for free, we're going to go up here to the top right corner and click on Save. Don't click on this button because it's going to ask you to pay $19 for the high resolution file. We're going to click on Download the low resolution for free. Accept the terms and conditions, and you can see it's free right here. Click on Download, and it goes to your computer. Now, before we go, I'm going to click on the X in the top right corner. I'm also going to make the site icon, which is just going to be this guy right here. So I'm just going to highlight all of my text and click on the delete key on my keyboard, and I can increase the size a little bit. This is going to be my icon, and just bear with me, save it, and I'll show you guys what an icon is in just a second. Okay, so now I've got my logo and I've got my icon. Close out of this, and now we don't need Logo Maker anymore, so I'm just going to close out of both of these tabs. Okay, so the site icon is going to be this little guy right up here. It's also called a favicon, but I just call it a site icon. And so it's going to be this little guy right here. And it just adds a little extra customization to your website rather than having this default globe icon, which just looks terrible. So first, let's go ahead and change the logo. And again, just for review, because we haven't been here in a while. To get to your logo, we go to the header builder, and then we click on site title and logo. Pretty self-explanatory. And so let's go ahead and click on change logo. And I'm going to upload my files. And so I'm going to go back to my logos, and I've got both of them right here. So let's upload them both to save time. And make sure I select this one for my logo. And skip the cropping as well. And there we go, my logo's on my website. You can take the logo width and increase it, and that's basically the same thing as your logo size. I don't know why they do that different, but whatever. And I'm going to go ahead and put it right here, and I think that looks fantastic the way it is. I might make it a little bit smaller, actually. So something like this. Okay, now I'm going to click on Publish to save my work. Now when you want to update the site icon, we're going to scroll on down, and it's at the very bottom right here, Site Icon. And we can select the site icon, choose it, we'll click on Select. And by the way, you want your site icon to be a square as best as you can, which this is perfect because this little icon is automatically a square. I'm going to say skip cropping, and now you can see my site icon up here on the tab. So it just shows that you're on my website, which is pretty cool. We'll click on Publish. The reason it's not showing on my dashboard is because it's old. I got to refresh, and now you'll see. Okay, so with that out of the way, we've already got our logo and our icon. So now all we have is the header and the footer. So let's click on back, and we'll go back into the header builder. Okay, so there's two things inside of the header that we have to change. We've got the button over here on the right-hand side, and then we've got the navigation. The button's easier to change, so let me knock this out quick, and then we'll go over to the navigation. So for the button, you can literally just go over here and click on button, or you can click on button right here. It both takes you to the same place. We're going to change this to say contact. Contact me. And it's that simple to change the text. And then the link is just going to be contact. Well, specifically hashtag contact. And I'll show you what that means in just a minute. When we set up the navigation menu, I'll show you what that actually does. But let's click on publish just for now. And that's it. Button is done. If you want to make any further changes, you can. You can go to the design tab and try changing colors and things like that, or border width, but there's no point. The button's already using the exact same color as your website. It looks the same. It's got the same curved edges. It's perfect. So it's that simple. And this is exactly why I always recommend using a template, because it saves you so much time. Over here on the left-hand side, we can go to the back button and go back to our primary menu right here, which is this guy. And we're actually not going to make changes to the menu right here. I just wanted to show you guys that that's where technically it is. But we're going to go all the way back out, and we can go over here to menus. We've got the footer and the main menu. The main menu is the top. The footer is the one that's down here in the bottom, which it's not even showing up, so that's kind of funny. We'll go back up to the top. Okay, so for the main menu, I'm going to click on it. And right now, it's trying to take me to the About page, the Portfolio page, the Contact page. What I'm doing in this tutorial is I'm showing you how to build a single page website. I don't want multiple pages because that gets complicated having to edit multiple pages, right? We're on the tail end of this tutorial. We're almost done. I don't want to show you guys another 2 hours of tutorial trying to build the About page, the Portfolio page, the Contact page, all of that. So let's actually remove those pages. Back on my WordPress dashboard, I can go over to the Pages tab, open it up on a new tab. you'll see these are all of the pages that are on my website. And let me just, for example, you don't have to follow along with me right now. Let me just show you guys what this means. If I go over here, I've got my home page and it's already done. I can go to the About page. You would have to make changes to all of this, right? Then you would have to go to the Portfolio page, make these changes. Then you'd have to go to the Contact page, make all these changes, and you'd edit it inside of Elementor. But we put everything on our homepage. We've already got the About section on my homepage. I've got a Portfolio. I've got a Contact way down here. So I'm going to delete those pages. Really easy to do. All you have to do is select all of them and then uncheck the home page. We're going to go to bulk actions and say move to bin and apply. Now the bin is basically your trash can. You can come in here and if you want, you can permanently delete them, but you don't have to. It's in the bin. It's already gone. Okay, so now all we have is the home page. And so let's go ahead and close out of this tab and refresh this page. So there's only one page on my website, and now you can see that there's only one page up here as well. And if we go back into the menus tab right here and click on main menu, you'll see that all of those other pages got deleted, or they're highlighted red on your screen and it says invalid. Either way, they don't exist anymore. So now what we have to do is essentially every time I click on one of these, I want it to be an anchor point on my website. Essentially, if I click on the About button up here, I want it to scroll them down to the About section. And it's really easy to do. Let's go ahead and do all 5 of these, and then I'll show you how to link them to your website. All we're gonna do is click on Add Items, go to Custom Links, and we're gonna say, I want an About page, or the About section, and then I want hashtag About. And notice that I do not use a capital right here. Let's say Add to Menu. And just like that, I've got an About button. Let's do the same thing for the rest of the sections of the website. So the next one would be Services. And then the next thing is my Portfolio. And then next we have the Work Experience. And then we have Clients, which is technically the Testimonial section. And then finally the Contact section, which we're actually not going to put one because our button is already going to take them to the Contact section. So we can stop adding items and click on Publish to save our work. Okay, perfect. So now our menu is complete. We don't have to do anything else, as well as the button. If I click on the pencil icon, it takes me straight to the button. And you'll notice that I already put hashtag contact in the link. Okay, so now let me show you guys what happens so far. When I open up my website and I click on the About button, it doesn't do anything because it's taking me to the link hashtag about. But there's nothing on my website that goes anywhere. And so what we have to do is click on Edit with Elementor. We're going to scroll on down to the About section, click on Edit the section with these 6 dots, go to the Advanced tab, and right here just type in About without the capital, just like this. And so now, whenever you click on the About button, it's supposed to take you to hashtag About, which hashtag is an anchor point place marker, and it takes you to the place marker that's titled About. And so all we have to do is set these up to take you to hashtag About, hashtag Services, hashtag Portfolio, hashtag My Experience. And then on Elementor, I just have to go in here to the Advanced tab and put About. Let's do this one for Services, and it's called Services. Next one is Portfolio, click on it, Advanced tab, Portfolio. Next one is my Work Experience, so I'm going to click on it, and remember I titled it My Experience. Next one is my Testimonials, so let's edit this one. And finally, we have the Contact form. Let's click on Update to save our work. And then anytime you want to preview your website, you can click on this little eyeball right here and it says Preview Changes. It's going to open your website up just like this. Okay, when I click on the About button, it's going to take me to the About section. If I click on Services, I'm not scrolling, by the way. I'm not touching my scroll wheel. It takes me to Services. If I click on Portfolio, and you guys get the idea, it takes me down to Work Experience, and then Testimonials. And then remember, I also set this button up, so when I click on Contact, it takes them down to the Contact form. Isn't that awesome? I think it's pretty cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and close out of this tab. We can close out of Elementor, and we're done editing the header of the website. Except for the logo, for some reason, is now showing my old logo again, which is weird. And again, that's just a glitch. If I refresh the page, I bet it's going to go away. Let me go ahead and go back into the global website builder. It looks like this is the only logo. Sometimes this happens. If I close out of this tab and maybe reopen my Appearance tab again, Okay, and I actually think I know what's going on. I forgot to change the transparent logo as well as the regular logo. If I click on the pencil icon, it'll take me straight there, and it's still here. If I remove it, it's gonna go back to using my regular logo. So we'll click on Publish to Save. And the way that you get to transparent header right here, obviously I just clicked on the pencil icon, but if that's not working for you, you can go to Header Builder, Transparent Header, and you'll see right here, do you want to use a different logo for the transparent header? I'm gonna say no. And that just completely removes the option. Or you can remove the logo like I just did, but now my logo is appearing. So we'll click on Publish to Save, and we're good to go. So now that the header is finished, we've got the logo, we got the icon, the menu is set up, and the contact button. Let's go ahead and drop down to the footer. Under the main menu, I'm gonna go back down to Footer Builder. It's gonna automatically scroll me to the bottom. And you'll see that I've got the logo, the email, and my socials. And so let's go ahead and make changes to this right now. First of all, I don't really like that this is a black background right here. And so the way that I'm gonna fix this is I can click on the little gear icon right here, and I can go to the Design tab, and I can literally change the color that it's using. And instead of this, I want, let's just say a gray background instead. I think that'll look a little bit better, rather than just having a stark black. Let's do the same thing by clicking on the gear icon again down below, because as you can see, there's two sections. I've got socials and copyright, so there's the socials and copyright. So I'm gonna click on this gear icon, go to the Design tab, and do the exact same thing. I think that looks a little bit better. Next, let's get this terrible logo out of the way and put in my super cool logo. We'll say got it. And now when I click on widget 1, it's this one right here. I can click on the image and I can replace it. And let's put in my icon. All right. It looks good. And now I can edit my socials over here on the left-hand side. And the socials over here act very similar to this icon list when I edited it earlier. You can rearrange them by dragging them just like this. And then whenever you want to edit one, you just click on it and you can change the label. And you can also change the icon, but there's no point because it's a Facebook icon. Why would you put Facebook text with a different icon? So there's not really much of a point except for putting in your URL. So you would go on a new tab, and let's just say, for instance, let me go ahead and add YouTube. And if you want to add one, you just go down here to the drop down, click on it, and then say add. Let me drag it to the top here and edit it. If I wanted to add YouTube, I could go over here to my YouTube, and then I can go to my YouTube channel, create a pro website, and then I'm going to copy my link, close out, and I'll paste it right here into my URL. We'll click publish. And then now, let me just show you guys. I'll open up the website again, go down to the bottom. Anytime someone clicks on my YouTube link, it takes them to my YouTube account or my YouTube profile, right? So you guys get the idea. As you guys are editing these social feeds, you would just click on Facebook, paste your Facebook URL. And then you'd open Twitter, paste your Twitter URL. Now, for instance, let's just say you don't have Behance, Dribbble, Instagram. You can remove all three of them by just clicking on the X icon. And so you can only have the socials that you want, right? Let's go ahead and add Instagram back because everyone's got an Instagram nowadays. And we'll click on Publish to Save. Okay, so that's these icons over here, and you don't even have to change the color because they're using the same blue that's patched into our theme color palette. So let's go ahead and change our widget 2, which is just this email over here. You can click on it, and you can literally just type out your email. And so I think, what did I use up above? example@email.com. So let's use the same email. Okay, example@email.com. Obviously, this would be your email, but that's my example. Okay, and we'll click on Publish. And the last thing that you can do is edit your copyright down below if you want to click on it, and you can literally type out whatever you want right here. It's pulling the current year using shortcode, or the copyright, the current year, the site title. You guys can change whatever you want, but I'm going to leave it. Okay, so that is how you can edit the header. We already did the logo, the icon, the menu, and the button. And that's also how you edit the footer. We changed the background color, we edited the icons, put our email and our logo in here as well. Well, technically the icon, but you guys get the idea. Okay, so now that that's done, I can close out of this tab and go back to my dashboard. All right, friends, in this final step, we're gonna be checking the mobile responsive mode. And this basically means that we just built our website on the desktop view, but we have to double check what the website looks on the mobile view as well. Now, the template that we downloaded at the beginning of the video was built for all responsive modes, but because we made some changes to the website, it's a good idea to just go back and double check. So let's go ahead and do that now. So in order to open up our mobile responsive mode, we're going to go back inside of Elementor. So I'm going to open up my website on a new tab again and click on Edit with Elementor. From here, we're going to drop down to the bottom left corner. Right next to Preview Changes is a button that's called Responsive Mode. We click on that, and it's going to open up a ribbon on the top. And you'll see that we've got the desktop view, we've got the tablet view, and we've got the mobile view. And so I'm going to click on the mobile view first, which as you can see, the tablet is going to need some help. She's struggling just a bit, but the mobile view looks just fine. As you can see, it says, "Hi, my name is," and we've got the divider, which looks a little weird on the left-hand side. So let's go ahead and click on this and we can make that change. Now, one thing I want to make clear, anytime you make a change in the mobile view, you have to double check that it's not going to affect the desktop view. For instance, right here, you can see that the alignment, I can see that it's got a mobile little icon right here. That means that I'm only editing the mobile version, not the desktop or tablet. So if I make a change here on the alignment, it's not going to make a change to the desktop version. So let me go ahead and make it to the center, and all of a sudden it's fixed. Let me click on Update to save my work. If I go back to the desktop version, it's still set to the left-hand side, as you can see. But under the mobile version, it's still centered. So you can see that you can make technically 3 different versions of your website so that it looks good no matter what size of screen some client might look at it. I can do the same thing for these icons. I can click on it right here. I can go over to the Style tab, and I can choose the alignment, which again is only editing the mobile. If I say center, now it's centered, which it just looks great. We'll click on Update to save. Other than that, I think this looks fantastic. Everything is centered and it looks good. Scroll on down and I've got my picture of John Smith, which looks like it's technically a part of the About Me page. But we scroll on down, everything looks like it compresses nicely. And again, what we're looking for when we're editing the mobile responsive mode is we just don't want it to look like this, where it's obviously glitched out. And we're going to make changes to this in just a second, so don't worry. But that's what we're looking for, is places on the website where it looks bad. But we're going to scroll on through. It looks like the services just compressed on top of each other, so that's good. And then we've got my portfolio, which it looks like I've got my photography, web design, and graphic design. You can see my image carousel is right here, but for some reason it's just glitched out and it's not showing it. So if, for instance, I wanted to preview my changes like this, I could open up this tab, and then I could shrink it down so that it looks like it's in the mobile version. And as you can see, I'm looking at my website from the mobile version, kind of similar to over here. But if I scroll on down, I've got my portfolio right here, and here is my portfolio. Now, for some reason, they start off on the left-hand side, and I'm not sure why they're doing that. I could go over and try and figure out why. They're still glitching a little bit, but you guys get the idea. They're still there. I just think that my computer is having some trouble showing them, and they keep disappearing for some reason, so that's weird. But I wanted to show you guys that they are still there, and they still span from left to right, as you saw earlier. I think my computer's just being a little funky right now. Okay, so those things look fine. We'll scroll on down a little bit further. We've got the work experience section, which is also compressed on top of each other, which looks fine. We come on down to testimonials. Again, looks perfect. And then finally, we have the contact section, which again looks just fine. So now what I'm going to do is come back to the top and go to tablet view. And the tablet view is looking like it needs a little bit of help. And it looks like the only problem is that I added too much padding, and it's definitely showing. Because you see how my column is squished in between like this? So let's go back into my edit section here and go to the advanced tab. It's using the same padding, but again, it's not going to change other versions because you can see the little logo right here. So if I just zero these out really quickly, everything looks perfect. It's just because I had 400 padding everywhere that it looked like crap, as you can see. So if I go back to 0, everything looks just fine. Now, if I want, I could add a little bit of padding on the left and right. So I might add like 30 on both sides, just so that it's not wedged up against the side here. But other than that, I think it looks great. One other thing that I could do if I really wanted to make it look a little better, is I could reduce the size of the text by clicking on it, going to the Style tab, and you guys know how to do this. You'll notice again the icon. So if I change the size of the text here, it's not going to change my desktop version. I think that looks much better, and I could do the same thing here. Decrease it by a little bit, and then we can click on Update to save. But so far, the tablet view looks fantastic. We've got everything crunched in, and it looks just like the desktop version. Scroll on down, the About section looks just fine. If I wanted to, I could click on this button and I could center it on just this view, and it's not affecting others. But other than that, I think this looks all good. Scroll on down, we've got the services, looks great. The portfolio, again, it's doing the same thing, but as you can see, it still spans the entire website, so I'm not sure why it's doing that. Okay, so I refreshed the page, and now it's showing all of them all the way across, but it's doing the same thing. So let me go ahead and right-click on it really quickly, and let's see what we have here. Additional options. Let's try image stretch. Wow, okay. It looks like that fixed the problem. So let's right-click on both of these, and it looks like image stretch is what's gonna stretch it across, and it's not making any changes to anything else, so it looks like we're fine. Let's click on edit, image stretch. Update to save. Wow, that looks perfect. Let's do the same thing to the mobile, because if you guys remember, it was doing that weird glitch to the mobile. So we're going to right-click on it, edit the carousel. Let me switch it back to yes, and it looks like it's perfectly fine for some reason. So I'll do the same thing to graphic design. Yes, and we'll do the same thing to the photography. Yes. And we'll say update. It's still glitching for some reason, as you can see, and trust me, this happens every time you build a website. I experience weird little glitches like this all of the time, and it takes you just kind of trying to figure out little weird things to fix it. Sometimes it's just an issue of your preview isn't showing it, but on the real website, it's still there. So I'm not too worried about this. Go back to the tablet view, and it looks fantastic, except for one of them's, again, invisible for some reason, but it just keeps doing that. So we can go ahead and scroll on down to the work experience, and it looks top tier. I'm not going to make any changes to it. So does the testimonial, looks great. And then we've got the contact form, which is where they can enter in all of their information. So other than that, and even the footer looks great. It looks like it compacts it vertically for the tablet version, and I think that looks good. Okay, so from here, I'm just gonna go ahead and close out of Elementor and go back to my WordPress dashboard. Congratulations on building your one-page business website. If you wanna learn how to add more pages to your website, check out this video right here, where I show you guys how to take your single-page website and turn it into a multi-page website. I walk you through the entire process of adding pages and then linking them to your navigation menu. I'll see you there.